What's up, B2? Capital G here, looking at a brand new counter trap card coming out in Flames of Destruction. This one is incredibly interesting, and it's called Red Reboot. It says when your opponent activates a trap card, negate that activation, and if you do, set that card face down. Then your opponent can set one trap card from their deck. For the rest of the turn after this card resolves, your opponent cannot activate trap cards. You can activate this card from your hand by paying half your life points. So this is a very unique card just in the nature of it being a spell speed 3 and being able to be activated straight from your hand. I mean, that's pretty damn crazy outside of other like weird effects like the Magical Musketeers, Temple of the Kings, and stuff like that. You've never really had a spell speed 3 counter trap that could be activated from your hand. So that alone makes this card pretty incredible. And I think when I first saw this card, I just looked at the downsides, right? Like I just looked at, oh my God, I'm not trying to pay half my life points. That's bogus. I'm not doing it. And I also looked at the fact that, okay, so wait a minute, my opponent not only gets to keep their trap, but then they also get to get another trap. And I was like, oh man, this is just massive take. Like this is taking so many negs. Why would I ever want to do that? But I actually started thinking about it in the context of something like Trap Stun, and I was like, this card is infinitely better than something like Trap Stun, right? Let's say you're playing an offensive juggernaut, right? Like you're playing something like Pendulum Magicians after Heavy Metaphors Electromite comes out in the TCG. So let's say you're playing this and, you know, post Extreme Force, which this card doesn't come out till Flames of Destruction, so I guess you'd have to be anyways. But let's say you're playing Pendulum Magicians. Pendulum Magicians are a deck in nature. Because they're pendulum based, they lose to a lot of traps like Anti-Spell Fragrance. That can literally be a win condition against your deck. Okay, you can use Red Reboot against that. At least you get your pendulum scale set up. Hopefully you can pop off and do some stuff. Or let's just say that, you know, it happens. Sometimes you may massively pendulum summon 3-4 and you fall into a Solemn. A lot of times you lose that duel. This is a spell speed 3. It can be used against Solemn Strike. Your opponent does not get them life points back. Same thing goes for something like Solemn Warning. Or let's say your opponent is, you know, going second and you went first and you made a very legitimate board with Pendulum Magicians, but your opponent has that dreaded evenly matched. Is it worth giving up half your life points so that you don't lose your entire field to evenly match? I would say 100% yes, especially considering they're going to lose their battle phase anyway. So when you think of this card and you compare it to something like Trap Stun, I think it's just definitively better. First off, it can be used directly in response to a spell speed 3. It kind of has the same exact type of effect of negating traps until the end of the turn. And then you also just, like, you're able to activate it from your hand. So if you go second, you're able to activate it immediately. So I really think that this card is okay. Like, what I think people have to understand about this card is you basically need to kill your opponent that turn. And if you're playing one of these decks that can do a ton of battle damage, if you're playing a deck like Ancient Gears, you're playing one of these cheese decks, or you're playing a deck like Spiral, a deck that can just infinitely pop off, and your opponent is relying on any trap card, this can basically lock it out. It can lock out everything, because if you're playing against something like Paleozoic, man, and you just happen to, you know, stop one trap, like if they flip over an Anti-Spell Fragrance or a Mistake, and you happen to have the Cosmic Cyclone, you know damn well that those other like 4 traps on the field are probably going to be a problem as well. Why not just play something, lock them all out, make your big board, mount them, and make their trap cards not really relevant, because you know you've got your big board, either that or you just straight up killed them. So I think I like this card in nature. I mean, I think that when you play this card, you should be trying to win that turn, but for what it actually does, for it to be the green flag to basically say, go OTK your opponent right now, right here, I think it's pretty good, man. If you're going to play something like Ancient Gears where you have Power Bond and Limiter Removal, why not play this that can be activated from the hand that basically guarantees an OTK? Unless your opponent is playing a spell speed 3 that also stops this, unless they're playing like Solemn Scolding or Dark Bribe or something like that, the chances are when this card is activated, it's going to be the final thing in the chain, and the card that they get from the deck won't actually matter if you just kill them. So I actually like this card a lot. Hopefully it will be at least like a super rare, and Konami doesn't print it as just a common or a rare or something like that. I wouldn't even mind. No, I think Flames of Destruction has better cards to make it ultra rare. I was thinking maybe ultra rare, that might be a little too far. But what do you guys think of this card? I'm just honestly looking at it as cheese your opponent the turn you activate this card, and, you know, don't let there be a next turn. Whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Turn on that notification bell for daily videos.